I was fired just a few days before I was to get promoted. After working hard for years, giving everything I had to a company I believed in, they let me go. No warning, no thank you. Just a cold, quiet meeting in a small office on a Thursday afternoon. Let me tell you something. This wasn't just a job to me. It was my whole life. I used to come in early, stay late, skip vacations, even miss family events just to hit my deadlines. I thought all that hard work would pay off. I thought my loyalty mattered. Turns out, I was wrong. For months, everyone kept telling me that the promotion was mine. My manager even hinted at it during our last review, said I was a key part of the team, that I was on the list. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? I had the numbers. I trained half the new hires. I fixed problems before they even reached my boss's desk. I gave everything. And just when I thought I'd finally made it, they called me in. No smile, no handshake, just a printed letter on a thin piece of paper. Due to restructuring, it said, your position has been terminated. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, looking at the words, feeling like the floor had disappeared under my feet. I remember asking, why now? And they gave me some excuse about cost-cutting and changing priorities. But I knew the truth. Someone else was cheaper, younger, maybe better connected. It didn't matter how much I'd done. I was out. I left the building that day with a small box of my things and a heart full of questions. How could they do this? How could they treat someone like this after everything? I felt humiliated, angry, lost. But this isn't just a story about getting fired. It's not just about pain or betrayal. Because what happened next is what changed everything. That moment, that one meeting, that piece of paper, it broke me for a little while. But it also woke something up inside me. I realized I had two choices. I could stay bitter and stuck, or I could rebuild. Not for them, not to prove a point, but for me. And today, I own a company worth $26.4 million, no investors, no shortcuts, just years of work, learning, and refusing to quit. So how did I go from being fired days before my promotion to building something I never thought possible? Let me take you back. Because the journey from that office chair to the CEO desk wasn't easy, but it was worth every second. So how did I even get to that point? The point where I was so close to a promotion that I could already feel the new title on my business card. Let me take you back a few years. I didn't come from a rich family. We didn't have connections or fancy degrees hanging on the wall. Everything I've learned, I learned the hard way, by doing it. I got my first job in this company as a junior analyst. I wasn't special. I wasn't the smartest in the room. But I worked hard. I asked questions. I stayed late when everyone else was packing up. Not because I wanted to impress anyone, but because I didn't want to fail. My first manager noticed that. She used to tell me, "You don't wait for things to happen, you make them happen." That stuck with me. So I just kept going. Whenever there was a problem, I volunteered to fix it. When a team member left, I picked up their work until we found a replacement. I didn't complain. I didn't say no. I just kept doing more. Over time, I moved up. One small step at a time. No big jumps. Just slow, steady progress. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't loud. But people started trusting me. They knew if they handed me a project, it would get done, and done right. Now here's the thing. I wasn't just chasing a title. I actually loved the work. I liked solving problems. I liked building systems that worked better. I even liked helping others grow. I mentored a few younger employees who went on to do great things themselves. But after about 8 years, things started to shift. New management came in. They were younger, more aggressive, always chasing numbers. People who had never done our kind of work were suddenly calling the shots. Meetings became colder. Less about the team, more about the bottom line. Still, I kept going. I thought if I just stayed focused and kept doing good work, things would fall into place. And they almost did. That promotion, I had worked over a decade for it. I knew the role inside and out. I had built the systems, trained the people, even helped shape the strategy they now use daily. People in the office were already treating me like I had it. "You're next," they'd say. My own manager told me, "Start thinking about what you want to do with the team once you're leading it." And just when I thought it was finally going to happen, boom, fired. But before we go there again, let me tell you, everything I learned during those years, all the lessons, all the long nights, all the mistakes, they became the foundation for something much bigger. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. The week had started off like any other. I was working on a project that had been doing really well. We had just finished a big rollout, and upper management had even sent out an email saying how smooth it went. My team was happy. I was proud. Everything felt like it was finally coming together. And then I got the calendar invite. It was from HR. No subject. Just a 15-minute block on my calendar at 3 p.m. I felt a small knot in my stomach. I don't know why. Maybe it was the timing. Maybe it was the silence around it. I asked my manager about it, and he just said, "It's probably routine." But he didn't look me in the eyes. I walked into the room and saw two people sitting there, someone from HR and a senior manager I barely knew. My manager wasn't even there. They didn't smile. They didn't offer water. They didn't ask how I was doing. They went straight into it. "We've decided to go in a different direction with your position." That's how they started. Just like that. No warning, no explanation. I thought maybe they were joking. I even said, "Wait, what are you talking about?" But they didn't laugh. They handed me a folder with my name on it and said something about restructuring. I kept thinking, how is this possible? I was just told I was in line for a promotion. Everyone knew how hard I worked. I never caused trouble. I delivered every time. And now they were pushing me out? I asked, "Is this about performance?" They said no. I asked, "Did I do something wrong?" Again, they said no. They just said, "It's a business decision." That hurt more than I can explain. I had spent more than a decade helping that business grow. I had trained people who were still there. I had covered for managers who were now acting like I didn't exist. And now they were just letting me go. I left that room in a daze, walked back to my desk, packed up a few things, and left without saying much. My co-workers looked confused. A couple came over and asked what happened, and I just said, "I've been let go." Their eyes went wide. One of them said, "But weren't you about to get promoted?" Exactly. That's what made it worse. I was this close. Just a few more days, maybe even hours. And they didn't even let me make it to the finish line. I went home that day with more than just a box of stuff. I carried this heavy feeling of being used, tossed aside, forgotten. But that moment, as painful as it was, became the spark for everything that came after. The first few days after I got fired were the hardest. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat much either. I kept going over the moment in my head, over and over. One minute, I'm heading toward a promotion, and the next, I'm sitting in my living room, wondering what just happened. I didn't tell many people at first. I was embarrassed. How do you explain to friends and family that you got let go for no real reason? People don't always understand. They think maybe you did something wrong, or maybe you weren't good enough. But deep down, I knew I had done everything right. That made it hurt even more. The worst part, I felt lost. I had built my identity around that job. That company was where I grew, where I proved myself. I didn't just lose a paycheck, I lost my place in the world. For a while, I just sat at home. I stared at job listings, but nothing felt right. I would start writing a resume, then close the laptop. My confidence was gone. I started thinking, maybe I wasn't as valuable as I thought. Maybe I really wasn't worth keeping. That voice in my head got loud. Doubt, fear, anger. I even started to blame myself. Like maybe if I had done just a little more, stayed even later, taken on even more projects, maybe they wouldn't have fired me. But slowly, something inside me shifted. One night, I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and I thought, you gave them your best years, and they let you go like you were nothing. And that's when a new voice showed up. A quiet, steady one. It said, you're not done. That voice was right. I started thinking differently. Instead of looking for another job, I asked myself a bigger question. What if I built something of my own? I had ideas. I had experience. I knew how to manage people, how to solve problems, how to make things work. What I didn't have was a clear plan or money. But I had time, and I had nothing left to lose. That week, I started writing everything down. Skills I had, people I could talk to, markets I understood. I didn't know what kind of business I'd build yet, but I knew it would be mine. That's how the shift began, from broken and bitter to focused and determined. What they thought was the end of my story was actually the beginning of something much, much bigger. After those first tough days, I decided I wasn't going to let this setback define me. I wasn't just going to sit around waiting for another job offer that might never come. I wanted to take control of my own future. I started small. At first, I spent hours every day learning about what it takes to start a business. I read books, watched videos, and talked to anyone who had done it before. I wasn't an expert yet, but I knew I had the skills and the work ethic to figure it out. I thought back to my years at the company. What had I done best? What was I really good at? The answer was clear. I was great at fixing problems and making things run smoothly. So, I decided to start a consulting business, helping small companies improve their operations. At first, it was slow. I didn't have a lot of clients, and the money was tight. I worked from my small apartment, answering emails late into the night. Sometimes, I wondered if I had made the right choice, but I kept going. One of the first big breaks came when a local business owner called me for help after hearing about my work. They were struggling to organize their team and improve their delivery times. I spent weeks analyzing their process, suggesting changes, and training their staff. When their sales started improving, they recommended me to others. Slowly but surely, my reputation grew. More businesses called. I hired a few people to help. I reinvested every dollar I earned back into the company. I also learned some important lessons along the way. I learned how to manage money better, how to deal with tough clients, how to keep going when things didn't go my way. Every failure taught me something new. After a couple of years, my little consulting firm started to grow faster. I expanded into different industries, hired a real team, and even moved into a proper office. And here's the crazy part. After all that hard work, the business I built was worth millions. I still remember the day I checked the valuation for the first time. $26.4 million. It felt unreal. From being fired and feeling worthless to owning something that big. It was like a dream come true. But this isn't just about money or success. It's about proving to myself that I'm stronger than one bad moment. That even when life knocks you down, you can get back up and build something amazing. Now here's where things get interesting. After building my company and reaching a point I never thought possible, I had a decision to make. See, those people who fired me, they were still around. The same company I once called home was still out there, doing business the old way. But this time, I was no longer the employee. I was the owner, and I had power they never expected me to have. I started noticing how many of the companies I worked with were actually competitors or suppliers to my old employer. I offered better solutions, faster service, and smarter technology. The word spread quickly, and some of my former colleagues started calling me for advice, without knowing who I really was. One day, an opportunity came knocking. My old company was struggling with some of the same problems I had helped others solve. Their products were failing more often, their costs were rising, and morale was low. Their management reached out for help, but this time, they were looking to hire outside consultants. Guess who they called? Me. I could have said no. I could have ignored their calls, but I didn't. Instead, I took the project. I showed up with a clear plan, experience, and a team ready to make changes. And slowly the company started to turn around. It felt good. Not just because I was helping fix a place that once pushed me out, but because I was proving something. I was proving that I could succeed without their support, that I could build something better on my own terms. Some of my old bosses were surprised. Others didn't say much. But it didn't matter. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for me. The company started buying more services from mine. The money flowed. The respect came. And with every success, I felt a little more satisfied. Not because I wanted revenge in the way people usually think of it. Not because I wanted to hurt anyone. But because I wanted to show that hard work, belief, and refusing to give up can lead to something incredible. The same company that let me go just days before my promotion. I'm now one of their top partners. From being pushed out the door to sitting at the table with decision makers. That's the kind of success story I never thought I'd live. And it all started from that moment they fired me. So here we are, at the end of this story. From being fired just days before my big promotion to building a business worth over $26 million. It's been quite a journey. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this. Life will throw challenges at you. Sometimes those challenges feel like the end, like doors closing in your face. But those moments don't have to define you. They can be the start of something new. I didn't plan to start a business. I didn't expect to go from employee to entrepreneur overnight. But when life pushed me out, I pushed back harder. I used every lesson I learned, the good and the bad, to build something better. And you can too. Maybe you're facing your own setback right now. Maybe someone doubted you or let you go. Maybe you feel stuck and don't know what's next. That's okay. It's okay to feel lost, but don't stay there. Use that pain, use that anger, use that disappointment. Let it fuel you. Because success isn't just about talent or luck. It's about what you do after the hard times. It's about getting back up, even when it feels impossible. I'm living proof that you can turn what feels like a failure into the biggest win of your life. So if you're watching this and thinking about giving up, don't. Your story isn't over. It's just getting started. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to keep fighting for your dreams, no matter what.